Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the 7th lesson from the book Lessons in Truth by Emily Cady. Today's message is on personality and individuality. The words personality and individuality actually have two distinct meanings, but are often used interchangeably. Cady writes that personality applies to the human part of you, the personal, the external. Your personality may be agreeable or disagreeable to others. When you say that you dislike someone, you mean that you dislike their personality, that exterior something that presents itself from the outside. Individuality is the term used to represent the real person. One's individuality is that part of each one of us that never changes. It is the God self. It is that which distinguishes one person from another. The more a person brings forth the God aspects of wisdom, intelligence, love, and power, the greater their individuality comes forth. Charles Fillmore wrote that individuality is our true self, that which is undivided from God. It's our spiritual identity. That which characterizes one as a distinct entity or particular manifestation of divine principle. Individuality is eternal. It can never be destroyed. He writes that individuality originally simply meant each person's individual uniqueness. You are you, and you will always be you. You will change day after day, but it will still be you. He writes that you may even reincarnate many more lifetimes, but it will be you who reincarnates. This you who will always be you is your individuality. Personality, on the other hand, he writes, is the sum total of characteristics that a person has personalized as distinct of them, independent of others. He writes that the individuality is the real. Personality is the unreal, the mortal, the part of us that we choose to express to the world prior to our allowing our Christed self to show forth. Personality is what each of us seems to be when we think in our three-dimensional consciousness. Individuality is what we really are when we think in our unlimited spiritual consciousness. As the true Christ self emerges, personality decreases. The real self, the individuality, begins to more fully express. You might say that individuality is the self with a capital S, and personality is the sum total of all the changing opinions we have about ourself, lowercase s. This gives us a much better insight into what John the Baptist meant when he said, "He must increase," the individuality, "but I must decrease," the personality, the opinions about myself. So then we also have a greater understanding of what Jesus may have meant when he said that man must deny himself and follow me. He may have meant that something needs to be released in regard to one's sense of its lower self. It may be that he meant that the sense of the little self, which claims to be the whole thing, or the little self that believes there is nothing higher than itself. This, Fillmore wrote, is called selfishness or exaggerated self-centeredness. This is what must be denied if one is to become aware of the higher levels of being. John the Baptist represents the illumined intellect, the highest development of human consciousness. We may think of him as standing for personality, whereas Jesus expresses the divine self or individuality. John, recognizing the superiority of Jesus, said, "He must increase, but I must decrease." Charles Fillmore wrote that we cultivate our individuality by listening to the still small voice down deep within us, and then following it, even if it does make us different from others, because it will. We cultivate personality by listening to the people outside of ourselves and by being led by more selfish purposes, Fillmore writes, instead of by the highest within us. He writes, seek always to cultivate or bring into visibility individuality, not personality. In proportion as one increases, the other must decrease. Fillmore wrote that you can be in the presence of a strong personality that may cause you to want to step back from the person, that they seem to overpower you. Individuality in another person, on the other hand, gives you, when you are in their presence, a strange new sense of your own inherent possibilities. A sense, he writes, that is full of exhilaration and comfort and encouragement to you. This is because a pronounced individuality simply means more of God is coming forth into visibility through a person, and it has the power to call forth more of God in you. Fillmore writes to always remember that personality is of the human, individuality is of God. If you are in the presence of someone with a strong personality, just silently affirm your own individuality, your oneness with God, and that your individuality is greater than anyone's personality. He once shared a story that there was a time that he was overtaken by another with their strong personality, and always found himself giving way to that person because of their personality. He wrote, "This personality was able, with very few words, to make me feel as if all that I said or did was a mistake, and that I was a most miserable failure. I was always utterly discouraged after being in this presence, and felt that I had no ability to accomplish anything. After trying for weeks to free myself, one day I was walking along the street with a most intense desire and determination to be free. This day I struck out farther and declared, silently of course, there is no such personality in the universe as this one, affirming it again and again many times. After a few moments I began to feel wondrously lifted, as if chains were dropping off. And then the voice within me urged me on to a step further to say, there is no personality in the universe, there is nothing but God." After a short time spent in vigorously using these words, I seemed to break every single bond. From that day to this, without further effort, I have been as free from any influence of that personality as though it had never existed. So he made the statement, there is no personality in the universe, there is nothing but God. Even though Fillmore made that statement to free himself from the effects of another person around him, we could also use that statement to assist ourselves in freeing ourselves from our own personality if we wish to give way more to our own Christed individuality. Emily Cady wrote, "The more you learn to act from the still small voice within you, the stronger and more pronounced will be individuality in you." She writes, "If you are inclined to wilt before strong personalities, always remember that God has need of you, through whom, in some special manner, to manifest himself, some manner for which he cannot use any other person. What need have you to quail before any person, no matter how important they are?" So however humble your place in life, however unknown to the world you may be, however small your capabilities may seem to present to you, you are just as much a necessity to God in his efforts to get himself into visibility as is the most brilliant intellect, the most thoroughly cultured person in the world. She writes, "Remember this always, and act from the highest within you." So no matter how you appear to the world, the Christ in you is always waiting to come forward from within you to bring more of the Christ light to this world. Today, I ask that you allow your own individual Christ light, your own individual individuality to shine forth and assist in bringing the greater light to this planet. So have a beautiful, wonderful day, and may the Christ light fill your day. Lots and lots of love to all of you, many blessings, and God bless each of you. Have a gorgeous day.